Far away in the quiet eastern lands, where the desert stretched wide and the night sky glowed like a river of light, wise men studied the stars. They were not kings, but learned men, teachers, watchers of the heavens, and seekers of truth. Every night, they lifted their eyes to the sky, searching for signs that spoke of things greater than themselves. One peaceful night, as the cool wind brushed the sand and the stars shimmered brighter than usual, one of the wise men suddenly gasped. "Look," he whispered, pointing upward. A new star burned in the sky, brighter than any they had ever seen. It did not flicker like the others. It shone steady and strong, as if it had a purpose. "This is no ordinary star," another said softly, his voice shaking with wonder. "This is the sign we have been waiting for." Their ancient writings spoke of this moment, a star that would rise when a great king was born. A king not like others. A king sent by God. Their hearts began to beat fast. Could it be happening now? "The Savior of the world has been born," the third wise man said in awe. "And this star is leading us to him." For a long moment, they stood in silence, the desert quiet around them. Then one of them spoke with firm hope in his voice. "We must go," he said. "We must find him and honor him." The journey would be long and dangerous. There would be heat by day, cold by night, and many unknowns along the way. But their hearts were already set. Faith had begun to pull them forward. They prepared their camels. They packed food and water. And each man chose a gift: gold for a king, frankincense for worship, and myrrh for sacrifice. They did not fully understand why these gifts were so important, but they trusted God's leading. As they began their journey, the star moved ahead of them, lighting their path through the endless dark. Night after night, the wise men followed that star. Sometimes the desert wind was fierce. Sometimes they felt tired and afraid. But whenever they looked up and saw the star still shining, their courage returned. "This child must be very special," one whispered during a cold night by the fire. "He is changing our lives before we even meet him." Far away in Jerusalem, another man was also troubled by the news of this newborn king. His name was King Herod. He ruled with fear in his heart and anger in his soul. When he heard that a new king had been born, his face grew dark. "A new king," he muttered. "Then what does that make me?" The city felt uneasy. Whispers of the wise men's arrival spread through the streets. People wondered who this child could be, this baby whose birth stirred the stars and shook the heart of a king. The wise men finally reached the great city of Jerusalem. Its tall walls shone under the sun, and busy streets were filled with merchants, soldiers, and travelers from many lands. Riding through the gates, the wise men asked everyone they met the same simple question: "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star in the east, and we have come to worship him." But the people looked at them in confusion. "A new king," one man whispered. "We have heard nothing of this," said another. Soon, word reached the palace of King Herod. When he heard what the wise men were asking, fear grabbed his heart. His hands shook slightly as he sat on his throne. "Bring them to me," he ordered. The wise men were led into the grand palace. Gold walls shone around them, and guards stood tall with sharp eyes. Herod forced a smile, but his eyes were cold and full of anger. "So," Herod said slowly, "you speak of a child born king. Tell me, when did you see this star?" The wise men answered honestly. "The star appeared not long ago," one said. "It led us here." Herod turned to his advisors and priests. "Search the holy writings," he commanded. "Where is this promised king to be born?" They searched and answered, "In Bethlehem, a small town nearby. The prophet said that from Bethlehem a ruler would rise." Herod's smile returned, but his heart was now full of dark plans. He turned back to the wise men. "Go to Bethlehem," he said gently. "Search carefully for the child. When you find him, come back and tell me where he is, so that I too may go and worship him." The wise men bowed, unaware of the danger hidden in his words. As they left the palace and stepped back into the night air, something wonderful happened. The star appeared again, brighter than before. Their hearts leaped with joy. "There it is," one shouted happily. "God is still guiding us, another said with relief. The star moved ahead of them, leading them out of Jerusalem and toward the quiet village of Bethlehem. The road was calm now. No crowds, no noise, just the soft sound of footsteps, breathing camels, and the glow of heaven's light above them. As they traveled, the wise men spoke softly. "This king is unlike any other," one said. "No palace, no crown, yet even the stars obey him," another replied. Soon, the star stopped. It hovered over a small, simple house. Not a palace, not a guarded building, just a humble home. The wise men looked at one another in silence. Could this truly be the place? With trembling hands and hopeful hearts, they stepped forward. Inside, a young mother held her child. A quiet peace filled the room. When the wise men saw the baby Jesus, they fell to their knees without a word. Something deep inside them told them the truth. This child was the king. Not a king of power and fear, but a king of light, love, and heaven. The room was quiet. The gentle flame of a small lamp flickered against the walls. Mary held baby Jesus close to her chest. Joseph stood nearby, watching with gentle eyes. The wise men were still on their knees, overcome with deep awe. At last, one of them slowly stood. With shaking hands, he opened a small chest made of fine wood. "I bring gold," he said softly, placing it at the baby's feet. "For you are a king." Another wise man stepped forward and opened his gift. Sweet-smelling smoke rose into the air. "I bring frankincense," he said, his voice full of wonder. "For you are holy. You are from God." The third wise man hesitated. His gift felt heavy in his hands. He knelt and placed it down gently. "I bring myrrh," he whispered, "for you have come to suffer for the world." Mary listened quietly, her heart full. She did not fully understand everything, but she felt God's power in that moment. Joseph bowed his head in silence, tears filling his eyes. The wise men stayed for a short time, their hearts filled with joy and peace they had never known before. They had searched the skies for years, but now they realized they had found more than a king. They had found hope. That night, as they slept, God spoke to them in a dream. "Do not return to Herod," the voice warned. "He plans to harm the child." The wise men woke up suddenly, their hearts pounding. They knew the dream was from God. "We must obey," one said firmly. "Yes," another nodded. "God has guided us this far. We must trust him now." Before sunrise, they quietly left Bethlehem and returned to their homeland by a different road. Back in Jerusalem, King Herod waited. Days passed. No message came. His anger burned like fire. "They have fooled me," he shouted. But it was too late. God had already protected his son. And far away, on dusty roads and quiet nights, the wise men traveled home, no longer the same men who had left. They had followed a star, but now something greater burned inside their hearts. Faith. Back in Bethlehem, Jesus continued to grow in a world that did not yet know how deeply he would change it. No army followed him. No palace welcomed him. Yet heaven had already crowned him king. Not a king of fear, but a king of love. Not a king who takes life, but a king who gives it. Moral lessons from the story. True wisdom leads us to God, not to power. The wise men did not seek a throne, they sought truth. God can guide us in ways we do not expect. Sometimes he uses stars, sometimes dreams, but he always leads with love. Not everyone who smiles has good intentions. Herod pretended to worship, but his heart was full of fear and pride. Jesus came in humility, not glory. The King of Heaven was born in a simple place to show us the power of humility. When we encounter Jesus, our lives are changed forever. The wise men never walked the same road again, inside or outside.